Today's date is August 15th in the year 2026. We are coming to you from Salida, Colorado, and I'm trying to be, as quiet as possible with Saturday market behind us and working to make sure that this is conversational, that my voice isn't over amplifying with my high prana like it normally does. But it is going to be a subject about high prana that you're not going to understand until you incarnate into a body like mine. And that's the lesson that a lot of people are missing right now in yoga. Okay, understanding energy, understanding other people's energy, and training oneself to become equanimous when they come around other people's energy that's so different and powerful and electrifying that they're frightened by it. Today, while waiting to the library, I engaged in a few social experiments to add to my blog. And so, the reality is, farmers markets like this do not remain all white by an accident or because of the errors or mistakes of anybody else. What we have today in the New Age movement, in the metaphysical shops, and in a variety of spiritual circles is really people using, through cultural appropriation, things that our ancestors created against us to elevate themselves. We are dealing with an energy war, a spiritual war that sadly in 2026 in America is actually in many cases in various places around the earth dictated by skin tone. One of the things that I was doing here in my social experiment as I came to the park, I was sitting over here briefly for a minute. Yeah. I was sitting over there briefly, and there was an older lady, about 60s, about my mom age, been in the New Age movement probably her whole life, same genetics, Nordic, Celtic, that type of a thing, Germanic. And then she's just looking at me like that person doesn't belong. And that was the first hit to do the social experiment. Like, wow. Because through the stare, through the negative energy, through the projection, they can create a peaceful, love and light version of the all white ethno state simply through the look of the eyes and the stare. So then I go over there by the Ascension Church, and I don't really think there's a whole lot of ascending going on there. And again, in all these different churches that are around me, I've contacted them, sent them to my newsletter, addressed them that I am actually saying the things that needed to be said, that the people around them, that they're dating or not, they're not biting, they're not interested in being grounded and centered in the fusion force of spirituality and being grounded in what's actually happening on the planet. And that's something that you rarely don't see. You don't see news reporters into spirituality. You don't see people purporting or pretending to be into spirituality into actually helping others and being a humanitarian. But they love to play the role because it's sexy. It's attractive. And the culture, our culture, celebrates fakeness and celebrates cultural appropriation while leaving behind the people to die who actually created those original spiritual teachings to begin with, such as my ancestors. So that's what we have here. The robberies either done over through the military or through cultural appropriation, while the actual spiritual masters are left actually starving the street because they are literally cast out. They've learned nothing from history in World War II. And so, as far as the spiritual experience goes, I can be here in the park and not do podcasts and still get the energy glare that you don't belong here. Even though I meditate full time, fight human trafficking, believe in women's rights at the next level that most people don't even believe, they're not even trying to hear what I'm saying. They're isolating through the Bluetooth so that they can stay in the same mindset their ancestors have been in, so that we continue to stay in this samsara. And that's the most troubling thing about modern yoga. They're not talking about how many people are coming back in the future because they didn't use their privilege to stop the wars and to help what people they could. They just took and gobbled whatever stretches they could while ignoring the essential message of being kind to others. So the first thing when I once I noticed that, like, yes, my suspicions are confirmed. They're always going to say my energy is bad. That's why I was assaulted when I was a baby and forced to go to that all-white school in North Marion. And my new age mother would always say it was my karma without being grounded in reality and actually doing something about her son being assaulted. But she wasn't called in spirit to protect her son. Yeah, because she was called in spirit to assault her son. Verbally, mentally, physically, and every which way, but sexually through the New Age movement, through the fake love and light, through the abuse of my father and what my father created. And we'll get into that later. So the first thing was going over there to the opposite end and just meditating for a few minutes and then seeing one person agitated as if I'm doing something wrong. No, 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 I'm not podcasting. I'm actually meditating, building up my aura. Oh, she's scared. Oh, she's feeling a bright light burning her demons. There's nothing legitimate about my meditation being wrong. They're flinching, they're wincing because my energy field is too different. Okay, so that lasted, and then another woman came, and they have their four kids, future to be drafted in Iran, future soldiers of the Fourth Reich, with a super tall husband at about 6'9", and they're looking at me like I'm some sort of a threat at 150 feet away. And I'm just observing this going, okay, don't say a word. Close your eyes, meditate, get into the pose, build up your aura and chi as large as possible. Confirm this for yourself that your spiritual energy, your love, your light is under attack and they are allergic to it. It is not mental illness. It is all of them saying you're bad when they are all of the same ancestor and you're the one who's different with the spiritual masters in your ancestry who rode with many prophets. That doesn't matter to them. Doesn't matter. As long as they got the poses down and a couple Sanskrit words, they're good to go. And we can just be neutralized by the CIA. But then again, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and don't you ever forget that. That's how they maintain the system. You have the overt hatred from the far right, but what the so-called left does is you're extreme, emotional, you have feelings, you're a conspiracy theorist, but their brains are the exact same functions, exact same DNA as these KKK people and these Nazis. They just found a way on the left and on NPR to make sure that our voice is not heard at 106.9 KHAN here in Salida or any other place where they're actually there to cater to the Crestonian elite and the Salida elite. In other words, people that want things to stay the same without any change. Unapologetically using the black token as the defense to say, we're not that way. But here, they don't even bother to do that. And that's the difference between the Colorado Society in 2026, who doesn't care what I'm saying and isn't even trying to steer me right, and say an old Portland woman who loved my show as the whole city watched me 20 years ago, when they were actually very impressed during the Bush years. And what happened was cell phones, what happened was social media, what happened was an abundance of toxic podcasters. Now they think that I'm like them, those toxic male podcasters that are misogynists. They don't understand that I am with psychic abilities, exposing them, telling them what they're going to be doing in 5 years and 10 years. That's too much. It's too bad energy. I'm tired of my mother's abuse and the abuse of 10 million people that have watched me on the internet from this culture that have blown their hands telling me that my energy is bad when I am the master. As far as I'm concerned, I am the return of the one. And there's nobody even close to my corner when it comes to combating human trafficking and talking about the causing conditions and what you need to clean up so that you can safeguard the freedom and the next generation of women who haven't been born yet, who didn't have your privileges. Your privileges to not have a man. Your privileges to call 911. Your privileges to abuse us through the system and the matrix. You understand the collapse is coming. Solar flares are coming, and you're going to need to restore your proper yoga to proper male-female relationships. What you have here is the building up, unfortunately, of horrific things that are about to come to pass because they're not telling their kids from the ground up, you're not to grow up and hurt those people. They think it's a conspiracy theory if we even bring it up. So, the podcast will continue legally and lawfully, knowing that they like to do nefarious things to keep me moving and that there is still a blackout in this society. And these poor people have to deal with people like me, these poor, poor victims. They have to deal with psychics like me that have been leashed upon the world by my white New Age feminist mother who had her sexual freedom in the 1970s to crossbreed me with the descendant of the gods. So thus, you have this above average level of psychic ability where I have a 100% ratio of predicting the future, but a 100% failure rate at trusting people to be better than him or better than her. When it comes to predicting or assuming that some people are on the right side of history, that actually has been my downfall. Rather than be like a Middle Eastern guy who walks in front of the woman who abused me, I made sure she was walking in front of me when we were in Texas. All 300 pounds of her walking in front of me as she beat me up verbally each and every day because I let her walk in front of me. This story will be told. Your world is involved in a cover-up of dehumanization of people that aren't white being misogynists. Your world is involved in a cover-up that God is witnessing and how you're thinking about me. Your world is involved in a cover-up. Okay, and if you don't start recognizing people that are ethnic, that are short, that are different looking, that fight for women's rights, that are ultimate feminists, you're going to come back to Earth, probably as an Iraqi in 2050. Okay, and you're going to learn compassion one way or another, incarnation. I command you to recognize the ethnic people around you who are psychic or spiritual, who are fighting for human rights. I've been doing what I've been doing for 22 years. Not one of you will do that. Not one of you will do that. Not even my mother. So what you're saying is my job here on the earth is done. I will incarnate out of this place. And really, by giving you all the tough love that you need through the ultimate yoga that you need, the truth about incarnation, God is impressed while the humans are annoyed. Never succumb to people with an allegiance to the military-industrial complex, and be aware that in 2026 they're merging yoga and the metaphysical community with the military-industrial complex, the CIA, and wars without end. And a lot of people are in denial about this, but you need to look closer at Crestone, the Crestone cults, the people saying that Amy Carlson was related to Donald Trump, and then admit to yourself why a person like that would be popular, why Crestone would nurture her. It wasn't because they have mental illness, it's because they have a fondness for people like that that pretend to be gods and goddesses. Put a little dot on their head, get a little dress they order from Amazon, while the people and the cultures that actually brought those things to life are put into mulch. Now, we're not going to tell you this. This is going to be difficult, little Sally. This is going to be difficult. But that's a society on its way to becoming a new species akin to a vampire. In other words, you got to get that under control. There's plenty of ways people can mix spirituality, mumbo jumbo, and chi with being a super state soldier killer. And so what I'm saying is, with great power and chi and prana and influence and privilege, and being seen as a god or a goddess comes great responsibility. And I've seen in my lifetime, all since we've had the TV set, since we have the internet, all these people misusing their social media. Not one day out of any day saying, you know what, maybe don't bomb those people. Maybe be nice to that one person who looks different in your town if you claim to not be with him. And that's the truth that we need to understand. It's not Donald Trump versus the left. It's one system that brought him to power through believing lie upon lie about those people. And now, and we're going to end this podcast now, what we're going to be talking about soon is my predictions of the flash mobs going after immigrants are happening simultaneously. In Michigan, they're going to be flash mobbed in a couple of days on the 18th, and I can probably guarantee I'm the only person in this town who actually is verbalizing that. And nobody in conspiracy theory cares about that. They're always trying to get people to attack those people. And then in Ireland, the IRA is back in power. They're going to be committing terror attacks against women unless all the immigrants leave. And so you need to understand I'm the only person talking about that issue and how violence against women is wrong no matter what the race is who does it and no matter what the race is who's targeted. And so you need to understand why men like me are alone, and why everybody else here who has a partner is not involved in that type of activism. And then you will come to understand the sexual matrix and sexual fascism that surrounds us. The godly people are being outbred by people with no morality that have sold everything that we have. You will know them by their not skin tone, through their value, but their attributes and their ability to be compassionate to the people that they're wiping out. And I can tell you, I've done a lot of praying for Salida. I've put out magical rituals that they're not interested in called the Pyramid of Protection, where I promote synchronized meditations on the mountains, Chimney Rock, where I have experience where God has sent me. Chimney Rock and Blanca, for those listening. Sand dunes and Blanca Peak to the right. Here we are in Salida. And then there I am massaging the button in Crestone, screaming from the mountain top like a Looney Tune, activating the chakras of Crestone, speaking up for humanity, casting out the asuras, I guess what the East Indians would call demons or archons. Essentially saying that the returns of God, the return of the gods are manifesting through my body. Deal with it. And I'm going to free the slaves. All types of affirmations. And we're going through an eclipse right now. We're coming after the eclipse of April 12th. And so I'm animated with these energies. I'm feeling invincible, but I'm not. I'm grounded enough to realize that I'm not. And I've just been on a strategy lately of trying to minimize my podcasts around these people or to try to steer it in the right direction, and to keep moving around town because I am here for a reason. I am here to harness the earth power and the ley lines for the greater good of all. And I can do it by myself. And I may need to do it by myself. I stopped talking to a guy on the phone because he was saying my energy is so bad. But sadly, my energy is going to be bad if I'm talking to somebody who has a fond view of the IDF, if he views the people in Gaza as robot demons, XYZ. He's not a great fit to be my life coach. Period. And in the end, as Laura Starr said, a metaphysical life coach on Facebook, you've got to learn how to become your own guru. And I've got to learn, if I want to teach people meditation and powers of the mind, how to have confidence in my own power, and that's why I'll watch on occasion the Chosen One video series, but I don't think that everybody is. I think that's highly narcissistic. But to acknowledge that you incarnated on the earth here to play a major role in the wake-up call. And I think a lot of us want to be a part of that ascension thing. We got an ascension church over here, but I don't know what they're doing in the basement. But I heard that the church next to Ascension Church, the Methodist, that one of their volunteer assaulted a guy named Adam, and Adam talked to me right here at this table, and he said that he's being set up by the Salida police, and that he's innocent. And I'm willing to believe him. Why? Because that woman there was cruel to me. And I went to them and gave them my blog and said, I want to talk to you about these issues. And I'm telling you calmly right now, everybody, I have done everything in my power to lay down like a little wounded doggy and go, help me, mommy, to these authoritarians at DHS, at Solvista Health. They will not return my phone calls. So I'm taking this quite well to the people listening to me now. I'm not a drunk screaming at you right now, throwing cans. I'm a Sufi, actually, who y'all failed to kill. What you've done is you've created the cause conditions for the crazy man to be drinking, going, ah, because your system won't help him. He needs spirituality, they need yoga, but they need the teachings about being karmically good as homeless people. Because here, I've tried to mentor these folks, and until you're going to clear yourself of that inebriation, you cannot clear your chakras completely until you eradicate all those things that are holding you back. And so I'm going to go full celibate again. I'm going to stay off the alcohol. Right now, THC is my only therapist, and then using my throat chakra, and then grounding out, shutting down. So let's conclude so they can finish there. I believe in what Dion Fortune called the preliminary training of meditation before you even get to working with a group. That means, and I'm not physically doing all the yoga postures, but I need to. I'm just doing feet on the ground, root chakra to the center of the earth, grounding. I'm trying to be quiet here. I'm trying. I'm naturally loud. You don't understand. It's got me in trouble. And I bring in the sun into my body. I build up a shield, and then I'm working on projecting my heart chakra outward. Not to the point where it's attacking somebody, because somebody might feel like I'm attacking them. But it's an exercise to shoot out the energy field of the heart and then bring it back. And then some of us on the internet feel like we have to hide our light to avoid being abused in public, especially people that are doing, quote, car camping. Even white women that are older now that are experiencing it for the first time, they are experiencing discrimination from their own people that they were not expecting. And so we see that in Crestone, and I have some interviews with women that have been harmed by women in Crestone because I'm that type of a guy. We need to investigate when people are pretending to be love and light and they let the business component overtop anything spiritual. So when I go to Crestone, I am to go into the mountains, I am to go and forest bathe and talk to the god goddess energy within, sacred feminine, masculine, and then leave the people in town alone. I just feel like recording right now because I'm starting to feel better. So just deep breathing here. I'm going to stop here. Go ahead. You're fine. Thank you very much. I'm going to end this now.